We focus on two Southern churches this morning in our ongoing series, A More Perfect Union. Our goal is to highlight some of the things Americans still have in common. Two neighboring Baptist congregations with a complicated history are working to forge a new relationship. James Brown spoke with their pastors in Macon, Georgia, about putting the past behind them. JB, good morning.
Charlie, good morning to you, sir. Well, you know, most Americans do feel that the country has grown more divided, and this year's contentious presidential election certainly didn't help. In Georgia, there are two pastors in the city of Macon who are trying to heal the racial divide by bringing their churches together.
Put your hands together.
It's Sunday morning in Macon, Georgia, and First Baptist Church is making a joyful noise. Just around the corner, First Baptist Church of Christ is starting its worship. Like many churches in America, the difference between the two is pretty much black and white. Most people are familiar with what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, that the most segregated hour in America is worship hour. Is that still the case?
The reality is, yes, it still is.
I think so, but I also think that we wouldn't worry so much about that 1 hour a week of being divided if we weren't so divided the other hours of the week.
Pastor Scott Dickinson and James Goolsby met 2 years ago and decided it was time for their congregations to get to know each other. Because not only do their churches share a name, but they share a history. Pastor Dickinson, what's the name of your church?
First Baptist Church of Christ.
And it was started when?
In 1826.
And what's the name of your church?
First Baptist Church, 1826.
1826?
Yes.
There can only be one church.
We came out of that church.
In 1826, there was only one First Baptist Church in Macon. White slave owners worshiped in the front with their slaves in the back. But by 1845, church records show that the slaves outnumbered their owners 2-to-1. So a separate church for the blacks was formed.
That's First Baptist Church. That's the one I pastor.
Were you pastor? And yours, Pastor Dickinson?
First Baptist Church of Christ, where I pastor.
And you guys have been just around the corner from each other for how long?
Since 1887.
And how often have you guys, prior to these meetings, interacted one with another?
Maybe once or twice.
After the tragic murders at a Charleston church last year, the two pastors got their two churches together for a series of meetings to talk about race and its impact on their community.
We were the only non-Afro-American people in the room.
On this night, just before Thanksgiving, church members met to break bread and walls that have separated them for years.
One door that said colored and one door that said white. I think that was my first consciousness.
For 3 hours, they shared funny stories and sad ones too. And by the end of the night, the two congregations grew closer. We talked to members of both churches the next day. I'm wondering how much objection, apprehension there may have been on those who've heard about this but didn't want to participate.
I did hear conversation about how the conversations would go and the fear of saying the wrong thing.
I'm going to use the word more apprehensive than negativity.
One thing that you've learned from this series?
Togetherness. Let's stay together.
To listen to the other side, so to speak, and hear about their perceptions and their ideas about what's going on before.
I've learned respect, unity, and reconciliation from First Baptist of Christ.
I've learned how forgiving our friends from First Baptist can be.
I've learned the importance of sharing experiences, engaging in positive dialogue.
This series has taught me that despite what the world is telling us right now, that this kind of conversation is possible.
How are you?
And it only took two pastors to travel a few hundred yards to begin to heal the divide. Pastors Dickinson and Goolsby and their congregations are hoping to build on these series of conversations, and there's no question that both churches are planning the next steps to continue to grow closer and understand each other a little better.
Oh, I love this story so much.
It seems like these two congregations really wanted this to happen.
like it's been bubbling under the surface for so long, and the deeper they pull back the layers, they see how much uniformity there is between the two congregations, Josh.
Wonderful. Thank you. By the way,
The new Slim.
yeah, Mr. Slim.
The rapidly
looking-
disappearing JB.
I wish I could have the conversation.
53 pounds.
You look
53
great.
pounds, oh boy.
Yeah, how do you feel?
Nora, like you now, great. So thank you very much.
You look great. You look great.